So, good evening. Oh, I thought long and hard about how to start this thing, but let's just get it started. Welcome to episode one of the Story of Life podcast. Everything is a podcast these days, isn't it? Doesn't matter if you are actually podcasting or if you're like me, just sitting in your recliner late at night downstairs by yourself with your dog. Simply called the podcast. Now, the idea behind this is you saw the name Story of Life. There's one thing I have plenty is life and stories. And, on this channel, I've done some dating videos, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Eh, boring. I wanted to do something different. And boy, have I had some spare time to think about just what it is exactly that I'd like to do that was different. See, I am at the beginning of the end of a 27-year project. It could go 28. It's not impossible that it could go a 28-year span. See, I'm downstairs with my 11-year-old St. Bernard, who, over the last few weeks, his health is finally much more becoming of an 11-year-old St. Bernard, which is to say, most St. Bernards don't live to be 10. And I think his body is finally catching up with the reality. And so, 2 months ago, 6 weeks ago, I had to move downstairs with him because he can't get up the stairs anymore. So I left my comfortable bed with my girlfriend and came down here to a broken recliner that if I lean too far back, it flips over, but I don't want to move it because, well, it's the hockey playoffs and I can't change the juju in the streaming room. So I catch an hour here, a couple hours there. Some nights are better than others. Some nights I get some sleep. Some nights, like last night, I'm laying on the floor with him from 3 to 4:30 and we're both crying. But the reason why this is a 27, maybe 28-year-old or 28-year journey is because of this dog. Back in 95, 96, everybody, remembers, if you're a fan of the hockey channel, the Panthers had their run, Florida Panthers. And, the goalie's nickname was Beezer. Now, in September of 96, the following hockey season, there was a dog born down in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and he was gifted to a family for Christmas. Well, New Year's 97 came and went, and family finally decided, this puppy really isn't for us. And so they took him to the Humane Society on Griffin Road in Hollywood, Florida. And about that time that they took that dog, my ex-wife and I were going to see a movie. Believe the name of the movie was The Relic. But before we went and saw that movie, we went to the Humane Society. That was pretty much a weekly thing for us. Stupid kids. Going and looking at dogs. We rented a place. We didn't even have permission. We hadn't asked, so they hadn't told us no, but they hadn't told us yes yet either. So Go to the Humane Society this day, and in this cage, there's a black flat coated retriever whose name was Prince. And Prince sat up with this one snaggly tooth hanging out of his mouth and a clear preference for laying on his left hip as opposed to his right. And he put his face up against the bars and just wanted ear rubbings. I'll never forget the look on his face. So we visited with him for a little bit and put him back in the cage, went and saw our movie. And after the movie, we just kind of looked at each other and we're like, all you can think about is that dog, right? He's like, yep, that's all I can think about. But shelter had already closed, and this was a Sunday, and the shelter, I believe, was closed on Monday. I believe that's how it worked. Or it was a Saturday, and the shelter was closed on Sunday. One of the two. What I know is that the next day it was open, instead of going straight to work, I went straight to the shelter. And I was very, very nervous, was very concerned about, would the dog still be there? This was a different time. Humane societies back then still, it was a lot more common to just put animals down when they didn't find a home. So I showed up right and early when they opened up, practically ran back to his cage, and he was there. There was no pending adoption. There was nothing on his cage. I said, all right, let's go. So he was there. I had to go to a payphone, call my ex-wife and tell her, yeah, he's there. Call the landlord. She called the landlord. We had to offer them $50 a month extra. They would have said yes anyway. They were hemming and hawing about it, but we had to offer them an extra $50. And so put him in the car, took him home, and we named him Beezer after the Panthers goalie. And I had a good year and a half, 2 years with him before we got him a buddy, a Nikita named Corbin. And he had to go along a lot of good times. A lot of good times. And then kids started, one kid was born, 2 kids were born, 3 kids were born. Beezer's getting older. 2007, he was 11. And it was decided that I would go to massage school because what we were doing for a living at that point on eBay just wasn't cutting it. And after about 4 months of massage school, I came home one day and Beezer could barely walk. He could barely get up and come over to see me when I got home. And he hadn't really exhibited anything more than what we thought was normal dog aging at this point. And he could barely move. It was Halloween. I had to call my ex. She was already over at my parents with the kids. I said, I think we're losing Beezer. She asked me why. I explained. So I stayed there with him. Kids eventually came home from trick-or-treating. And he was really struggling. He was having a hard time breathing. He was in rough shape. And I spent the entire night on the floor with him, begging him to please go. just go ahead, man. Go. And he wouldn't go. So in the morning, we brought him straight to the vet, diagnosed with lymphatic cancer right there on the spot, showed it to us. Vet said, look, I got stuff that can buy you 6 months. I said, nah. So later that afternoon, vet came to the house, and you know the rest of that story. And it took a little while because we still had the Akita Corbin. It took a little while, but as Corbin got older, he lived to be 15 and a half. As he got older and we had gotten another dog, a lab named Sonia, and a Shar-Pei Shepherd named Ellie, I started to realize just how disgusted I was at myself for the treatment that Beezer got before he passed. Now, don't get me wrong, it wasn't mistreatment, but I was so busy with school and kids and work. And what I woke up one day and I realized was, and he'd been coming up to me just for love and attention for maybe as long as a year. And I would just pat him on the head and say, good boy, go lay down. I never stopped to do what I should have done then was give him any attention. Good boy, lay down. Go lay down. And over the years, as I realized that that's what I had done, it hurt. And so I made myself a promise that if he ever came back, I'd make sure that it was set up to where, I saw him outright. He had me at the end the way I would want to be. Now life brings you crazy moments. And there was a moment 2013, 12, 13, whatever it was, would have been 13. Yeah. It's a whole nother story, but we ended up living on an island in the Chesapeake Bay. Crazy enough. And we had Sonia in the lab, and we had Ellie, the Shar-Pei Shepherd. And then we had Logan, who was a Mastiff mix. To make a very long, sad story short, Logan had a mental health disorder that ended up with us having to put him down at 18 months. And that was brutal, to say the very least. And so, as everybody else, missed Logan, not that I didn't miss Logan, but, my job was to be okay for the other two dogs. Everybody else was pretty broken up. My ex, again, started bugging me about, hey, there's somebody on Craigslist and they got St. Bernard puppies. Nah, come on. I got the two girls. I'm good, man. Everything we just went through, I'm good. Another week go by. They still got those St. Bernard puppies. They keep telling me there's this one big boy. I'm good with the girls, I'm the one that does all the dog care. I don't want to take more on right now. Another couple weeks go by. They still got those St. Bernard puppies. That big boy's still there. Fine. I'll go see the damn puppies. And so we packed up, all three kids, left the two dogs at home. We drove 90 minutes somewhere into Delaware. I walked up to the house. It was a nice trailer, decent yard. And here come mom and dad up to the fence. Not huge St. Bernards, but good size, skinny, but healthy skinny, well taken care of. And now comes the part where some might believe, some might not believe, but that's okay. It's my story to tell. So we walked into the house and they had the puppies in a bathtub. Kids walked over. They all got a little puppy. My ex got one. And I looked in the tub and I saw this big fluffy thing staring up at me. And I said, "You son of a bitch." And I picked him up and he wrapped his paw around my arm and he gave me one kiss and he looked at me. And I'm like, "It's frickin' Beezer. Son of a bitch came back." I looked at the kids and my ex said, "I don't know what you guys are doing, but this is the dog that's coming home with us." The kids couldn't tell anything, but my ex kind of looked at me like, "Yeah, dumbass, I've been trying to tell you he's here for a month." And so we took him home and he whined the entire ride home. Oh my God. He just whined the whole ride home. And so years go by again. 2020 comes. You know what my memory of 2020 is? How effed up that whole time period was. It was a couple days after Thanksgiving. And we were having to have Sonia, the lab, put down 11 and a half. And as I was sitting there and they were doing the thing, they come to the house. It was two nurses. And as she's going, I'm bawling my eyes out. And I'm apologizing to the nurse because my mask came off. That's what I remember about 2020. And so then it was just Fluffy and Ellie. And right now, as I talk to you, it's June 6th. And Ellie passed on March 18th. And for about 10 days after, he was a maniac. I could not placate him. We were at the beach, we were at the river for hours at a time. Now, the whole time we've lived here, they'd go to the beach and the river, 5 times a week when they were younger, 3 times a week when they were older, a couple times a week in the last year when, Ellie and Fluffy obviously getting up there in age. Ellie passed at 13 and a half. So for about 10 days after she passed, he wouldn't leave the beach or the river. I just couldn't get him home. We would just sit there. And he just sat there in the water, just staring out at the water. And I just stood there with him. And we'd be there 2.5 hours. After that 10-day period, he could no longer get up the stairs. But it wasn't so much of a I couldn't do this anymore. It was more like I was only going upstairs for Ellie, Dad, because Ellie could climb the stairs on her own. Now we'd always help Fluffy up. And so I moved downstairs with him. And now I get to finish what I started 27 years ago. What I wish I would have done then, I get the exact opportunity to do now. So if I'm not trying to knock out a quick video, I'm laying on the floor with him a lot. If I spend too much time editing, he starts whining at me, just like he did on that car ride home. Go on, Dad, get back over here. Every once in a while, when he gets a little bit lazy and he doesn't want to go outside, I have to remind him, you're not dead yet. I used to say that to his sister Sonia when she didn't want to get off the couch and come downstairs to go outside. Come on, you're not dead yet. And try to make light of it, That sounds like a sad story, but it's not. The insane number of moves and mistakes and accidents that had to happen for me to be in the position not just to be able to stay home with him at the end, but to have to stay home with him in the end. We moved into this house 9 years ago. I had a brand new GMC Savannah van, and my plan was I was going to buy merchandise at auctions over here and bring it over to the other side of the bay where it would get a lot more money. Before I could implement that plan, I got seriously bad vertigo. I can't drive bridges, highways. Can't do it. So I had to find more of a way to stay home. Got Lyme disease pretty bad. Got divorced. Pandemic came. Vertigo got worse. But it's not complaints. It's all things that made it so that not only would I have the ability to stay home with him at the end, but I have to. I don't really. There's not a lot else I could be doing anyway. And so I have a lot of nights I sit here 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock. I either can't sleep or if he's having a bad night, he's having a really good night right now. The length of time that I've just been sitting here talking to y'all and he hasn't been whining, that's a blessing these last few days. And so I said, what can I do? I'm down here in my little basement by myself, everybody else upstairs. It's too hot to even sit outside with the dog right now. Otherwise, we would be sitting outside. It's too humid for me. Can't breathe. And so that's where the idea for this show came from, because I figured, I'm sitting here just spinning through all my stories anyway. I may as well be sharing them. And I want to have this time with him somewhat cataloged. I waited a long time to get what I wanted, and I want to have a record of what was I really thinking and feeling during this time. Because, things happen and memories get blurry, and you forget how important things were. You know that they were important, but you lose that that emotion attachment. It's like, yeah, that was hard. It's like, yeah, but wouldn't you like to feel how hard it was just one more time? Maybe sometimes not. So I don't know. I figured I'd just sit here in my recliner that won't go backwards, put up a blank screen, and just start yapping and see what comes out. Some of you might hear that story and go, okay, man, yeah, you can believe what you want. It's not the same dog, and that's fine. I know I've had multiple people be skeptics, and then I show them pictures. It's in the eyes, man. It's the same soul. It's in the eyes. Now I've had it as much as you can have it confirmed. I've had it confirmed in multiple ways, but one way was the first time I got it on my eye in my head. I said, you know what? If I really want to know if this dog was Beezer, I'm gonna call him Beezer. And this son of a bitch cocked his head at me like, what? How'd you know that? I kid you not. I almost wish it wouldn't have happened because, then I could have said, well, it was my imagination, but it wasn't. Even my dad, who's the most skeptical human being on the face of the planet, come on, it's not. And I showed him the pictures. He's like, oh, I guess it could be. If my dad says it could be, it is. uh, anyway, long time to wait for a dog to come back so you can have some time at the end with him. I thought it was going to be longer. I mean, on one hand, it's like, what are you crazy? It's an 11-year-old Saint Bernard. How long did you think he was going to last? Well, I was kind of hoping for 12. And it's not impossible, but, you know, it's going to be a miracle. My birthday is August 22nd. And I think at this point, from the way I see he is right now, I would consider it a miracle if he was still here August 22nd. And at that point, I'll be 53 years old. And I will have had dogs since the age of 26. I really don't have much adult life experience of not having an animal. And certainly, I don't have much of a memory of not being worried about an animal when I left the house. You know, as they get old, they can't, it's not just that they can't do what they used to do, but, like I have to help them up a lot. And you just see that look on his face. He's like, God damn it. The hell's going on? Inside, he still wants to chase the bunny. And some days he can hop chase. And sometimes he takes a couple of trotting steps and he just sees the bunny in the yard and he says, oh, dang it. I can't go get that. The bunnies don't even run from him. That's how sad it is. The bunnies don't even run. They're just like, hey, what's up? So it's a long time to wait for something you love to come back so you can be with it at the end again. And it has been my main focus in life for so long. I don't know what I'll be when he goes. Like everything I've accidentally and purposefully designed in the last 10 years at least. It's all been designed for this period of time. I don't go anywhere. I don't do anything. And when I say that, I mean it. Some months, the only time I leave the house, go to the post office, come back. I'm not saying that to feel bad for myself or anything like that. It's just, that's my life. And then one day, just snap of a fingers, and it's 100% changed. 100% changed. There's a lot of things I don't go and do. Go to Thursday night auction with Kyle. No, I can't leave the dog. Not that long. I try not to leave him very often now because he gets so excited when I get home. His heart rate goes up. I got to lay down with him, get it to slow down. It's a thing. I used to tell my ex and even my new girlfriend, I used to say, when he goes, I'm going to disappear for 2 weeks. Kyle told his mother I was going to do that. And then his mother told Matthias. And Matthias called me a couple weeks ago. He says, I hope you do not disappear. I'm not going to disappear, kid. I'm just going to go take a vacation. Oh, okay. I am glad that you won't be gone. So it's not like life will have no purpose. For those of you who don't know me, Kyle is my oldest son. Matthias is my youngest son. And they're both, well, Kyle is more Asperger's, but Matthias has autism. But they're good. They're good to go. And that's it. A couple times a week, 2-3 times a week, whatever it is, I'll just pop on, tell a story. They won't always be so sad, but this one really isn't sad. I mean, it is, right? But number one, I get to do what I wanted to do, right? I wanted this, so I'm getting to do it, so I can't be sad about it. And number two, I'm sitting here June 6th telling you all maybe a month. 2 months? Jeez. I can't even imagine 3. Not with how downhill he's gone in the last 2 weeks. But what if we're still sitting here September, October, November? I'm saying, I don't know. He looks like he's going to croak any minute, but he keeps living, you know? So I want to see what's going to happen. How's that going to look? Is it 3 weeks? Is it 3 months? Am I sitting here this time next year going, I don't believe this shit, but the dog is still alive? And then we'll go from there. I got 1,000 stories to tell. Some of them I started dabbling on with the channel. I had the Confessions of a Male Massage Therapist. And I got so far in and I realized I don't think I can do these. Long story and short with that is that I was going to have to tell some stories where I don't really want the people to be able to be identified. And the area I was in and the time I was in, it would be easy for some people to identify the people that I was talking about if I told the stories. So I don't think I can tell those stories. There's some I can tell that would be unidentifiable. But some of the stories, yeah, if somebody who knew somebody happened along this, the video, they would be identifiable by the story. And I can't have that. I got the story of why my nickname is Jaws, and I used to tell him a lot on my hockey podcast, but this is a little bit different. And maybe it'll help me sleep. Maybe it'll help him sleep. He's snoring over there. He hasn't stayed quiet this long in quite some time. So maybe just him going to bed to the sound of my voice, maybe that'll help him get some sleep. Or maybe he wakes up as soon as I close the laptop. I'll let you know. That's it for tonight. Some might be longer, some might be shorter. I'm tired. And that's it. Next time, we'll have cookies.